चलो, welcome back. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. Visible screening of the disease. So, screening of the disease means search for an unrecognized disease. Search for an unrecognized. In a healthy individual. In apparently healthy individual. Apparently healthy individuals. By applying rapid test. By applying rapid test or examination procedure. This is the screening. What I have told in the iceberg phenomena, there is a large submerged part. We want this picture. So that this part is greater than this part. So this is done. Screening is done to detect the disease in the hidden submerged part. So there are some differentiation between the screening test and the diagnostic test. Screening test and diagnostic tests. Diagnostic tests. This is done on apparently healthy. This is done on diagnostic test is done on cases with sign and symptom. Cases with sign and symptom. This is done on apparently healthy individual. This is done on cases with sign and symptom. This is applied to group or population. This is individual approach. Individual approach. Number 3, test result. Arbitrary. We have to final. Later on to be confirmed. Later on, those who are screening positive, those who are screening positive, later on confirmed by other test. diagnostic test almost confirmatory. Sometimes may not be, further diagnosis can be done. Here it is based on one criteria. One criteria. Or cutoff value. Suppose diagnostic screening test of the diabetes, those who are greater than 110 on the fasting blood sugar, this is the cutoff value, one criteria of cutoff value. This is the combination on sign, symptom and lab finding. Sign, symptom, lab finding. Cost relatively cheaper, relatively cheaper, relatively expensive, relatively expensive. Which one? Diagnostics tests. Time taken. Screening test must be rapid. Here, time consuming. Time consuming. Accuracy. Relatively inaccurate, accurate. Accuracy, relatively inaccurate, accurate. Basis of treatment, cannot be used as the basis of treatment. It cannot be used. स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट जो पॉजिटिव है दैट उसको देख के अच्छे ट्रीटमेंट कभी भी स्टार्ट नहीं किया जाता है. बट हियर दिस इज यूजफुल. Basis of the treatment can be used as a treatment, as treatment, for treatment. And finally, who do this generally screening test? Screening test is done by the investigator or the epidemiologist. Who do this? Who performs? Investigator or epidemiologist or researcher. Okay, and here diagnostic test is generally done by the physician, individual physician. So this is some difference between this statement based question is expected. Now very important question, all of the following should be the criteria of the disease to be screening. We do not screen all disease. We do not screen all disease. There are some criteria of disease to be screened. Disease का कुछ criteria होता है so that can be used for screening test. Number one, disease should be specific health problem. Specific health problem. Number two, there should be effective treatment. Effective treatment must be available. नहीं तो स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट करके कोई फायदा नहीं है. अगर ट्रीटमेंट ही नहीं है तो उसका स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट करके क्या फायदा. फैसिलिटीज फॉर डायग्नोसिस एंड ट्रीटमेंट. Treatment must be available. Number four, there should be latent or early asymptomatic stage of the disease. There should be latent or early asymptomatic stages of disease. Number five, there should be test or examination for the diagnosis of the disease. There should be test or examination. There should be test or examination for diagnosis of the disease. For diagnosis of the disease. This is the point number 5. Point number 6. It must be acceptable to the population. It must be acceptable to the population. Number 7, natural history of disease should be adequately understood. Natural history of disease should be adequately understood of the disease. Number 8, there should be an agreed policy on who to treat. Policy regarding whom to treat must be available. Total cost must be low. Screening test ka cost must be low. So, number 9 point should be the total cost of finding a case should be economically balanced in relation to the medical expenditure as a whole. और number 9, 10 point नहीं लगे, ये 8 point पढ़ोगे. So, the question based on the what of the all of the following are the criteria of the disease to be screened. ये जैसे disease का criteria होता है, there are some criteria for the screening test. Criteria for the screening test. Criteria for screening test. One, acceptability. Number 2, repeatability. Reliability. इसका दूसरा नाम है प्रिसीशन और रिप्रोड्यूसिबिलिटी. मींस स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट फर्स्ट बार किया है जो रिजल्ट देगा, सेकेंड बार थर्ड बार करने से सेम टू सेम रिजल्ट देगा. This is meant by the repeatability or the precision or the reliability, acceptability, and number 3 is very, very important, that is the validity. Means accuracy. Number 4, simplicity. It must be simple, it must be safe, it must be rapid, low cost, ease of administration, these are different criteria for the screening test. प्लास्टिक का ग्लास में सुबह में जैसे so result of a screening test. Very, very important to understand. Column number 1, test result. Test result positive, test result negative. And this is truly present, this is absent. Those who are test result positive as well, actually their disease are said to be the true positive. Say this is named as the A. Those who are test result positive, but they are not having the disease, they are positive, that's why they are said to be the false positive, supposed to be the B. They are positive. Positive means test result positive. Screening test is giving positive result, but actually they do not have the disease. Their disease negative. So they are said to be the false positive. Here, test result negative, but actually they are diseased. This column is what? Test result negative. Test result negative. Test result negative. Test result negative. But actually, test result negative, but actually they are the disease. So what will you write? False negative. This is supposed to be the C. A test result negative, and actually they do not have the disease. This is the true negative, truly negative. टेस्ट रिजल्ट जो शो कर रहा है एक्चुअली डिजीज है नहीं, इसलिए शो कर रहा है. दिस इज सपोज टू बी द ट्रू नेगेटिव, सपोज टू बी द डी. Okay, again repeat. Result of a screening test. Test result positive, disease positive, true positive. टेस्ट रिजल्ट पॉजिटिव शो कर रहा है कि इसका ब्लड शुगर है, बट एक्चुअली दे डू नॉट हैव द, they are not basically your diabetic, so they are false positive. This is what false negative. टेस्ट रिजल्ट नेगेटिव शो कर रहा है कि डायबिटीज नहीं है, लेकिन उन लोगों के अंदर में डायबिटीज है, सो दे आर द फॉल्स नेगेटिव, नेगेटिव जो शो कर रहा है फॉल्स नेगेटिव, और एक्चुअली डायबिटीज भी नहीं है, टेस्ट रिजल्ट भी नेगेटिव दिखा रहा है, तो ट्रू नेगेटिव। वैलिडिटी मीन्स एक्यूरेसी, वैलिडिटी means what? Accuracy. To what extent a test measures? To what extent a test measures? That is supposed to be measured. That is supposed to be measured. Hello. So actually जो है डिजीज उसको मेजर करने का जो है, टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट द टेस्ट मेजर्स दैट इज सपोज टू बी मेजर इज नोन एज द वैलिडिटी. This is the ability to distinguish. Distinguish what? Who have the disease and who does not have the disease. Distinguish who have the disease or who do not have the disease. It reflects adequacy of measurement. It reflects adequacy of measurement. It reflects adequacy of measurements. This is meant by the validity. Actually, what do you want to measure? Ability to distinguish who have the disease and who do not have the disease. It can distinguish who have the disease and who do not have the disease. जिसका डिजीज है, जिसका डिजीज नहीं है, उसको डिस्टिंग्विश कर पाएगा थ्रू द वैलिडिटी. Validity have two components. And third point, it reflects the adequacy of measurement. It reflects adequacy of measurements. Second point, ability to distinguish who have the disease or who do not have the disease. These are all statement based questions. Next, it has two components. Number one, sensitivity. Number two, specificity. Validity have two components: sensitivity, specificity. Validity have two components: sensitivity and specificity. Sensitivity means sensitivity equal to this column wise, true positive by true positive plus false negative. This means what? Total A plus C. That means A by A plus C. That means true positive divided by total disease. Total disease, because This column gives the total disease population. Truly positive, out of the total positive, how many of them is truly positive? Out of the total disease percent, out of the total diseased percent, how many is truly positive? Out of the total diseased percent, how many is truly positive? That is given by the sensitivity. So sensitivity, correctly identify. Sensitivity correctly identify all those who have the disease, all those who have the disease. True positive, true positive out of the total diseased. A by A plus C. A by A plus C. True positive by true positive plus false negative. A by A plus C. True positive by total disease is the sensitivity. Sensitivity 90% means sensitivity of a screening test is 90%. That means what? 90% of the diseased people, 90% of the diseased people, 90% of the diseased people, 90% of the diseased people will give true positive result. Will give true positive result. And 10% क्या देगा? False negative result देगा. 10% false negative result देगा. So sensitivity 90% means 90% of the diseased people will give true positive and 10% will give false negative result. 90% will give the true positive. 100 diseased people अगर रहेगा तो 90 people will give the truly positive result, but 10% or will give the false negative result. There is a statement. I know my patient has the disease. I know my patient has the disease. Sensitivity answers. Sensitivity answers what? 90%. सेंसिटिविटी अगर 90% है तो सेंसिटिविटी आंसर्स 90% chance that test result will be positive. 90% chance that the test will show that my patient has it. Will show that my patient has it. Understood my point regarding the sensitivity? Any query? It has to be clearly understood. कुछ लिखा है कि देखो. Any query regarding sensitivity? Then we move to the specificity. Okay. Next is the specificity. Specificity. this column. Total non-disease B plus D. Total non-disease B plus D. Specificity will come as this true negative out of the total disease negative. True negative by true negative plus false positive. This column wise. This column wise. True negative. It correctly identify all those who do not have the disease or healthy. It correctly identify what? True negative. Those do not have the disease. So specifically identify those who do not have the disease. Specificity of a test 80%. What does it mean? 80% of non-diseased people. It basically identifies true negative. 80% of the non-diseased people will give the true negative result. 80% of these are all non-diseased. These are all non-diseased. 80% of non-diseased people, 80% of the non-diseased people will give true negative result. Will give what? True negative result. तो 20% क्या देगा? 20% क्या देगा? False positive result देगा. %20 देगा false positive. 80% देगा your 80% देगा your true negative result. Clear? Now again same to same as that of the previous one. Again that statement, I know my patient does not have the disease. I know. I'm sure that my patient does not have the disease. Specificity answers. Answers, what is the chance? Suppose specificity का value है 80%. So answers 80% chance that the test will show that my patient does not have it. 80% chance that the patient will show that I know my patient does not have the disease. यहां पर पेशेंट नहीं लिखे, आई नो दैट इंडिविजुअल होगा और भी स्पेसिफिक, क्योंकि हमेशा पेशेंट नहीं तो ट्रू नेगेटिव ना हेल्दी इंडिविजुअल को. आई नो दैट इंडिविजुअल डज नॉट हैव द डिजीज. Specificity answers 80% chance of the individual will show that he does not have it. He or she does not have it. Correctly identify what? True. Correctly identify true negative. Now coming to the positive predictive value. Positive predictive value along this column. True positive by true positive plus false positive means true positive by total positive. Means what? A by A plus B. True positive by true positive plus false positive means total positive. Total positive along this column, along this column, along this row, sorry, along this row, along this row. A by true positive by A plus B. This column wise sensitivity, this column wise specificity, this column wise positive predictive value, this column wise negative predictive value. Okay, so A by A plus B. A is what? True positive out of the total test positive. So positive predictive value indicates all those who have the disease, all those who have the disease, that is true positive, all those who have the disease, that is true positive, out of who are the test positive, out of total test positive. That means true positive plus false positive. So true positive plus false positive out of the total positive, how many of them are truly positive? This is the positive predictive value. Positive predictive value directly proportional to the prevalence. Positive predictive value directly proportional to the prevalence. Positive predictive value directly proportional to the prevalence. जिस डिजीज का प्रीवेलेंस ज्यादा है उसमें पॉजिटिव प्रेडिक्टिव वैल्यू, दैट मीन्स ट्रू पॉजिटिव आने का चांस और भी ज्यादा है, इसलिए अच्छे पॉजिटिव प्रेडिक्टिव वैल्यू डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द प्रीवेलेंस ऑफ द डिजीज. We are now coming to the negative predictive value. Negative predictive value along this column, along this row is equal to true negative start by this true negative plus false negative. That means D by C plus D. एक्चुअली D plus C लिखने से और भी अच्छा होता है, फिर भी D by D plus C. D by D plus C. That means what? It identifies true negative. So diagnostic power to exclude the disease. Diagnostic power to exclude the disease. It identifies true negative out of the total negative. This is what? True negative by total negative. Out of the total negative, how many of them are truly negative? Out of the total negative, how many of them is truly negative? Out of total negative, how many of them is truly negative? This is given by your negative predictive value. So obviously, negative predictive value is inversely proportional to the prevalence. Negative predictive value is inversely proportional to the prevalence. प्रीवेलेंस बढ़ने से ट्रू नेगेटिव वो हो जाता है कम. ट्रूली नेगेटिव प्रीवेलेंस बढ़ने से ट्रू नेगेटिव वो हो जाता है कम. ट्रू पॉजिटिव बढ़ता है, ट्रू नेगेटिव घटता है. इसलिए नेगेटिव प्रेडिक्टिव वैल्यू इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द your prevalence. Understood? Any query regarding this? This is about your screening. This is about your screening. Any query regarding this? Let me know. Next, we'll move to the next chapter. Up to this, that is the health, epidemiology, and your screening chapter to be fully understood. Otherwise, you will not be able to answer in your exam. Rest of the chapter, वो तो जो क्वेश्चन आया है उसका बेस करके रिलेटेडली उसका बेस करके थोड़ा मगअप करना है, थोड़ा इंफॉर्मेटिव है. बट दिस चैप्टर टू बी फुल्ली अंडरस्टूड, दिस सी चैप्टर, health number 1, epidemiology number 2, and your any query regarding this? हाई क्या बोला है? हाई फॉल्स पॉजिटिव केस इन द कम्युनिटी इंडिकेट. हाई अगर फॉल्स पॉजिटिव केस होगा तो स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट ही ठीक ठाक नहीं है. स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट ही হচ্ছে ठीक ठाक नहीं है, মানে স্ক্রিনিং টেস্ট में ही गड़बड़ है, जिसलिए হচ্ছে वो टेस्ट रिजल्ट হচ্ছে हाई पॉजिटिव दिखा रहा है. हाई पॉजिटिव टेस्ट कम्युनिटी में होगा नहीं, माने हाई पॉजिटिव टेस्ट अगर कम्युनिटी में होगा भी तो হচ্ছে that can be determined by some other screening test. This screening test is not suitable for determining that. Any other question from the screening? Yes, means high incidence and the low prevalence. Correct. Next. Chalo. Any question further? What is lead time? चलो नेक्स्ट, बोलो बोलो बोलो, लीड टाइम के बाद और क्वेश्चन बोलो. स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट टू डिटेक्शन ऑफ द डिजीज. स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट जिस टाइम में किया है उसके बाद डिटेक्शन ऑफ द डिजीज जब होगा तब डायग्नोस्टिक पावर ऑफ द स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट. और बोलो, क्वेश्चन बोलो एक साथ. डायग्नोस्टिक पावर of the screening test basically to exclude the disease of a negative predictive value. चलो नेक्स्ट হচ্ছে entomology. Medical entomology is very very important, one of the frequently asked question.
Option are sensitivity and predictive accuracy. Which one is correct? Options are sensitivity and predictive accuracy. Which one are correct?
Oh, diagnostic power of the screening test. Sensitivity, if option are sensitivity and predictive accuracy. So, diagnostic power of the screening test basically sensitivity. चलो entomology, very very important, must. First is the mosquito borne diseases. Mosquito borne diseases. Mosquito borne diseases. Anopheles. Malaria, filaria. But filaria outside India.
बोल रहे हैं कि बुक में प्रेडिक्टिव वैल्यू
हो सकते हैं। कौन सा बुक में बोलो? पार्क का टेक्स्ट बुक में है? पार्क का टेक्स्ट में फिर देख के बोल दूंगा मैं। चलो, आउटसाइड इंडिया। So Anopheles is malaria and filaria outside India. Culex. Culex. Bancroftian filariasis. JE. Bancroftian filariasis. JE. West Nile fever, viral arthritis. Viral arthritis, West Nile fever. या Culex. So Bancroftian filariasis, Japanese encephalitis, viral arthritis, and West Nile fever is the responsible, is transmitted by Culex. Next, number 3, Aedes. Yellow fever, dengue, chikungunya, Rift Valley fever, Rift Valley fever, or filariasis outside India. Filariasis outside India. All of the following are transmitted by Aedes except. All of the following are transmitted by Culex except. Which of the following is transmitted by Anopheles? This type of the question will supposed to be faced. ये छोड़ के भी fourth type of the mosquito, that is Mansonia. Mansonites. Mansonites. Bruguier Malayan, Malayan fever, filariasis, and sometimes chikungunya. But chikungunya primarily transmitted by Aedes mosquito. Next is the, after the mosquito-borne disease, housefly borne. छोड़ो, housefly borne उतना लगेगा नहीं, जो commonly देता है after the mosquito-borne disease, which is commonly given, that is the mite, scabies, and rickettsial pox. Cyclops, guinea worm disease, fish tapeworm. Guinea worm disease, fish tapeworm. Very, very important, sandfly, often repeated as question. Sandfly transmit 4 diseases. Sandfly, Colors are number 1. That is the visceral leishmaniasis, where hepatosplenomegaly is found. Visceral leishmaniasis, where in the visceral leishmaniasis, hepatosplenomegaly with the fever. Oriental sore, cutaneous leishmaniasis. Oriental sore, cutaneous leishmaniasis. Number 3, sandfly fever, urea fever. Sandfly fever, urea fever. So these 4 are transmitted by sandfly. Next, after the sandfly, we move to the tsetse fly. TSE fly. Sleeping sickness of Africa, African trypanosomiasis. African trypanosomiasis. Sleeping sickness of Africa. Very, very important. Often asked question, louse bone disease and flea bone disease. First is the louse bone. Epidemic typhus. Relapsing fever, trench fever. Relaxing fever, trench fever, pediculosis. Louse bone diseases. All of the following are louse bone disease except which of the following is transmitted by louse bone disease? This type of the question is one of the frequently asked questions. So this is the louse bone disease. Rat flea. Bubonic plague. There are several type of the classification of the plague. One of them is the inguinal bubo form करता है bubonic plague. Endemic typhus, often asked question. Endemic typhus, often asked question. Epidemic typhus, louse bone disease. Epidemic typhus, louse bone disease. Endemic typhus, flea bone disease. Sigarosis, CHIGGEROSIS. Hymonolepsis. Diminuta is the last. Only to know the name. Detailing will not be required. Only which one is transmitted by which. This type of the question. Out of the 4, endemic disease is endemic typhus and epidemic typhus is very, very important. One of the frequently asked question. Epidemic typhus by the louse bone disease, endemic typhus by the rat flea bone disease. Reduvid bug is the next. Chagas disease. Sleeping sickness in America. Sleeping sickness in America. American trypanosomiasis. Chagas disease, reduced bug is often asked question. This two. Black fly, onchocerciasis, or river blindness. Soft tick only. River blindness, onchocerciasis. Reduced bug, Chagas disease. Only to remember who is the vector. Tick can be of two types. Hard tick, soft tick. Actually, Q fever sometimes do not need any vector. If any vector required, Q fever is transmitted by the Q fever. And secondly, relapsing fever. Relapsing fever. Secondly, relapsing fever, which was also a louse-borne disease. So, basically, relapsing fever is transmitted by number one louse, number two is the soft tick, and hard tick. Tick typhus, number two viral encephalitis, KFT, Keishanu forest disease. क्या सानू फॉरेस्ट डिजीज, क्या सानू फॉरेस्ट डिजीज, क्या सानू फॉरेस्ट डिजीज केएफडी. ऐसे नॉर्मल वायरल फीवर, नॉन स्पेसिफिक वायरस, टूलरेमिया, टिक पैरालिसिस, टिक, टूलरेमिया, टिक पैरालिसिस, human babesiosis, human babesiosis. These are all transmitted by hard tick. So, first mosquito-borne disease, then mite, scabies, rickettsial pox, cyclops, sandfly, tsetse fly, louse, rat flea, reduced bug, hard tick, soft tick, black fly, etc. Transmission of this disease can be transmission. First is the direct contact. Man to man contact. Man to man, human contact. Scabies. Pediculosis. Second is the mechanical transmission. Diarrhea, dysentery, typhoid, etc. And very, very important is the biological transmission. Very important. Biological transmission can be of three types. Biological transmission can be of three types. Number one, propagative. Number one, propagative. Only multiplication, no development. Only the organism, only multiplication. नंबर में बढ़ेगा. No development. No development is the propagative. Example, plague bacilli in rat flea. Number two, yellow fever virus in Aedes mosquito. Only propagative. Yellow fever virus in Aedes mosquito. So propagative, only multiplication. Propagative, only multiplication, no development. Propagative, only multiplication, no development. Second, cyclopropagative. Cyclopropagative. Multiplication as well as the development. Multiplication as well as development. Example, malaria parasite in mosquito. Malaria parasite in mosquito. Female Anopheles mosquito. So multiplication as well as the development is the cyclopropagative. And third is the cyclodevelopmental. Cyclodevelopmental is the third. Cyclodevelopmental. Write down here. Cyclodevelopmental. Cyclodevelopmental. It is the reverse of the propagative. No multiplication, only development. No multiplication, only development. Filaria parasite in mosquito. Example, Filaria parasite in mosquito. Guinea worm embryo in cyclops. Guinea worm. Guinea worm embryo in cyclops. Only they will develop, no multiplication. Only they will develop no multiplication. Okay. Next. Next is the rickettsial disease. Very, very important again. Must know area. Often asked question. Must know area and often asked question. So biological transmission can be of three types: cyclopropagative, propagative, cyclopropagative, and cyclodevelopmental.
So radial transmission.
Hmm?
Transfer radial transmission.
Transovarial transmission. Transovarial transmission means something that goes from progeny. That means from one mosquito to second mosquito. One mosquito to second mosquito. This transmission is the transovarial transmission. Mosquito to mosquito जो transmission है, that is the transovarial.
Transstadial.
Trans
Stadial.
transovarial बोला है?
ट्रांसओवेरियल इसके बाद फिर ट्रांसरेडियल.
अच्छा वो मैं देख के बोल दूंगा बाद में. चलो. Next is the we are moving to the rickettsial disease. First হচ্ছে disease. Second is the rickettsial agent. Third is the insect vector. And fourth is the mammalian reservoir. Mammalian reservoir. So first number one, typhus group. First group is the typhus group. उसके अंदर में three diseases. Number one, epidemic typhus. Epidemic typhus. Number two, murine typhus or endemic typhus. Endemic typhus or murine typhus. Number three, scrub typhus. Scrub typhus. The rickettsial agent responsible for epidemic typhus is referred rickettsial proa jeki. P for P. P for P. Epidemic. Proazoki. P for P. Endemic typhus. Rickettsial typhi. Rickettsial typhi. And scrub typhus, which is much more common than the epidemic and endemic typhus. Rickettsial Shushugamushi. As I have told, these three are the rickettsial agent. Staph typhus, rickettsial agent responsible, rickettsial Shushugamushi. Epidemic typhus, rickettsial Provajoki. Endemic typhus, rickettsial typhi. And as I have told, this is a louse-borne disease. Rickettsial typhi is a flea-borne disease. And scrub typhus basically mite. Actually, mite are of two types. Each mite and trombiculite mite. Mite can be of two types. This is transmitted by trombiculite mite. Mite का type है एक तो. एक each mite, एक trombiculite mite. This is basically trombiculite mite से transmitted होता है. Each mite से scabies. So ये जो mite है scrub typhus is very common to our country. After the fever 5 to 7 days, IgM antibody of the scrub typhus gives positive. So that is the diagnostic point of the scrub typhus. And another very important thing is that one of the clinical feature of the scrub typhus is punch out ulcer covered with a blackened scab. Eschar is characteristics. Scrub typhus, eschar, punched out. This is pathognomic. Punched out ulcer covered with a blackened scab or eschar. Blackened. A blackened scab. Just like it looks like someone is infiltrated with the cigarette. Just like punch out lesion, ulcer covered with a blackened scab, that is the eschars. There is such a characteristic of the scrub typhus transmitted by trombiculite mite. This mite is the trombiculite mite. Rickettsial Shushugamoshi is the causative. Rickettsial Shushugamoshi is the causative rickettsial agent. Mite-borne disease. So again repeat, epidemic typhus by the rickettsial Provajoki, endemic typhus by the rickettsial typhi, and scrub typhus by the rickettsial Shushugamoshi. And first one is the louse-borne, second one is the flea-borne, third one is the mite-borne. Human is the reservoir for the epidemic typhus. What is reservoir? Where it multiply for the survival, or principally depends on the survival. So in the rest two, rodent. So this is about your typhus group. Number two is the spotted fever group. Spotted fever group. Number two is the spotted fever group. So first is the Indian tick typhus. Indian tick typhus. Second is Rocky Mountain spotted fever, RMS fever. Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And thirdly, rickettsial pox. Rickettsial pox is the number three. Indian tick typhus is transmitted. The rickettsial agent responsible for this, rickettsial connery. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, R for R, rickettsial, rickettsy. Rickettsial, rickettsy. And rickettsial pox is transmitted by rickettsial acari. So that these three are the causative rickettsial agent. Indian tick typhus by rickettsial connery, Rocky Mountain spotted fever by rickettsial rickettsii, and rickettsial pox by the rickettsial acari. Rickettsial pox by rickettsial acari. Tick tick mite. This is the tick-borne disease. Indian tick typhus, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, again tick-borne disease, and this is mite-borne disease. This is a each mite-borne disease. Mite are of two types, each mite and trombiculide mite. Each mite transmits scabies and rickettsial pox, and trombiculide mite transmit staph typhus. Tick tick mite. Indian tick typhus by tick, Rocky Mountain spotted fever by tick, rickettsial pox by mite. Rodents and dog. These two. Rodents. First two is the rodents and dogs are the reservoir. Rodents and dogs are the reservoir, and mice is the reservoir here. Mice, M-I-C-E. Mouse or mice is the reservoir for the rickettsial pox. So till now, only human reservoir is the epidemic typhus. Till now, remember like this way, which of the following rickettsial disease have human reservoir? Out of these six, human reservoir is only the epidemic typhus. Rest कहां पर भी human नहीं है, but human will come in the later on. Number 3, others. Number 3 is the others. Only 2 left. So this 8 rickettsial disease is very very important to remember. So others का मैं अंदर में number 1 Q fever, number 2 trench fever, Coxiella barneti is the rickettsial agent, and here Rochali Meya quintana is the causative organism of the rickettsial agent responsible for the trench fever. And what I have told, Q fever do not have any insect vector. Q fever do not have any insect vector. Sometimes if present by the soft tick. जो सॉफ्ट टिक के अंदर में दो चीज बोला था, नंबर 1 था क्यू फीवर, देखोगे तो सॉफ्ट टिक समटाइम्स, बट इंसेक्ट वेक्टर क्यू फीवर का जनरली नहीं है. And again repeat, this is one of the louse-borne disease. Which one? Trench fever. Sheep, goat, cattle is the reservoir here. Sheep, goat, cattle is the reservoir here. But trench fever is another where human, first and last, human reservoir. First one was what? Epidemic typhus. Epidemic typhus and the trench fever, both of them has the human reservoir. Okay. This is the rickettsial diseases related to the entomology. Rickettsial diseases related to the entomology. Now some breeding habits of mosquitoes. Few things regarding further regarding the 3 to 4 mosquitoes. First is the lifespan of a mosquito.
What what are the agents? Agents to
Coxiella barneti, Rochalimia quintana, rickettsial agent responsible for Q fever, Coxiella barneti, French fever, Rochalimia quintana. और बोलो चलो ये सब उतना लगेगा नहीं छोड़ो ये तो देते नहीं ये चार्ट ही जो आता है ज्यादा से ज्यादा यहीं से चार्ट ही आता है ओके नेक्स्ट विल मूव टू द some salient aspect of nutrition. Nutrition. After the break of exactly 10 minutes, I am coming, huh? We'll start nutrition. देखो break for 10 minutes आ रहा है. Please.